And it's exactly the same kind of, to me, fulfilling experience. Everybody reads Elfquest and gets something out of it that's very, very individual and idiosyncratic. And this is exactly the same kind of experience you're going to have, except with lush music and wonderful voices and all. And this is coming out now. We're all kind of keeping our fingers crossed that it might be for the holidays this year. Definitely early spring of 2022, this will be out. And while we don't know the fine details yet, it may come out on Audible, it may come out on Apple Music, it may, but it's going to be the first non-comics adaptation of Elfquest in a big way in 40 plus years. We also like to look at it as a kind of stepping stone. All these Netflixes and Amazon Primes and stuff that have been, what's Elfquest? And so, oh, that's what Elfquest is. Maybe that gets them a little bit more interested. So it's part of an ongoing, larger plan.
So that brings you very much up to date on what we are up to right now, and it's a lot of stuff. And I feel like it's time, I'd be interested in answering any questions that you guys have. Please, please feel free. Yes?
You first, then you.
I have two questions. The first one is what made you decide, what made you decide to split the soul between Tamain and Cutter? And the other one is, did you have a hand in deciding the colors of the various characters in the comics? Because it's a very diverse color range.
Okay, I'm going to answer the second one first. Did we have a hand in designing the colors of the characters?
Deciding colors.
Deciding? Yeah, we sort of had a hand in it. We designed them.
Take credit.
I'll take credit. Yes, I designed them. From the very beginning, I wanted the elves to be not multiracial because they're elves. They are all of one race. But I wanted them to be colorful. I wanted them I wanted anybody to be able to identify with them. And besides which, I'm nuts about putting certain colors with other colors. So for the sun folk, I wanted the sun folk to be a deep golden brown because it made a sense that a race of beings who are shape changers would adapt to the desert and become darker, and so they did, and boy, do they look good in bright jewel tone colors. I mean, I just love doing that. I love beauty. I love putting beautiful colors together. So I wanted that, and you know, it seemed only natural that the gliders who had lived inside Blue Mountain for thousands of years would have the color of eggshell white. And then we have the wave dancers who are every color you could possibly imagine. They look like tropical fish. They're wonderful. And their skin tones are different, very different. Tamain, you know, she looks like a goddess. Oh, I'm getting to that. Okay, all right. Well, you get me started talking about the art. I'll keep you here, so anyway. All right, I'll move on to Tamain. That was planned long time ago, more than 20 years ago, to bring Cutter to that part of his journey. It's called a double drop. Have you ever heard the term double drop? In metaphysical literature, double drop is when a soul is too much soul for one body, and so it drops in two bodies. And those two bodies can have very different experiences, but there's always kind of a connection because it's one soul. So Tamain and Cutter are a double drop. And the wonderful element of this is that it means Cutter is both male and female. And he discovers this at the end of the story, that he has this other side. Why would he have recognized Skywise? why would Skywise and Cutter have experienced the closest thing to recognition that two males can experience, except there was that element there. So, you know, it's exciting, it's kinky, and it was just right for the characters. Because Cutter, though he has been a barbaric, wild, fierce kind of a character, does have this tender side, this very tender side. And that's how it got expressed in the comics. So that's the answer to your questions. I just love color and double drop.
Wendy has a thing about telling a story. If there's a cliche, she'll use it, except that she will turn it completely on its head and make it unexpected. You think it's going here, and it takes a left turn in Albuquerque, and you're completely knocked off balance. You had a question.
Yes, so you mentioned, okay, so you were talking about kind of a duality to the elves, like there's kind of like the beast side and there's the angelic side. Would you say that alchemy has played a big role in your storytelling, or the works of like Joseph Campbell?
Well, a very big yes to Joseph Campbell, although oddly enough, we started telling the Elfquest story before we were really very much aware of Campbell. And then the series, you know, the hero's journey happened, and we were going, whoa, we've been doing that. And then we just became very much more aware of the formula of the stages of the hero's journey. And if you look at Elfquest, it follows every single stage of the hero's journey, just almost to the letter. You mentioned alchemy. Now, I don't know much about alchemy. I know that it's alchemy. But the elves are like humans in that humans all have a sort of a dual nature. We have a higher and a lower nature. So to express that through the elves, we have the high ones, and then we have the elves that adapted or devolved to become smaller and denser and to have what we like to say is a lower hum. The high ones have the high hum, and the adapted elves have the lower hum. And that's a way of talking about how people are. You know, they can follow their better urges. They can come from a place of wanting to treat each other as well as they can, or they can give in to their worst urges, and they can be destructive and selfish and lead to chaos. So those are the two sides of the elves expressed metaphorically in fantasy, two sides of human nature.
Thing about these days we're living in now, we're getting to see duality like very stark every night on the evening news, but it's been around forever. I keep coming back to a line from classic, the original Star Trek, where two planets are at war and the computers are killing off people, and Kirk says, yes, we kill, but we're just not going to kill today. And that's our choice. We get to choose our better or our worse nature, and that's what Elfquest is all about. It's the choice between the higher and the lower.
Generally speaking, as you follow the story, and that's why Cutter's the leader here, because he's the one who most often makes that leap to follow his better angels, is another way of putting it. To always try to find a solution to the problem that's the least destructive was always one of Cutter's goals. And it didn't mean he was perfect. It didn't mean that he could solve anything perfectly. No, he was not a Mary Sue. But he would always try to find a solution that was the least harmful.
Anybody questions? Okay.
My question is about your art style. There's something about your art style that's so unique, beautiful, and almost magical. And even other artists who are very good, who have also drawn for Elfquest, despite them being very professional, haven't been able to quite capture that. And I've never even seen a fan artist who can capture the element that your style has. Do you know why that may be?
Well, as to why nobody else can do it, because she's the best. I'm going to take a crack at answering that.
Because I haven't sliced it.
She mentioned earlier Jack Kirby as one of her influences and Osamu Tezuka as another. These are the two greatest artistic influences from Jack Kirby. She's